I'm not gonna pretend to know math. You know what I mean? I've met math. I've been affected by math, for sure. Math rules everything around me, yes. But when I tell you that the reason I don't want to hold like public office, I don't want to do any of that stuff, is because I don't want my math to affect anybody else, because I'm bad at it. I'm bad at math. The only time that my math affects other people's lives is when it's my turn to pay at dinner. And that is a bummer for everyone. That is, you can feel it. Okay. When it's my turn to pay for the check and I'm trying to, in my head, out loud, figure out the tip to then add I gotta divide to do the tip, and then I gotta add the number I just divided and then put that together and put that on the total on the merchant copy, all right? We're all up to speed. We've all been to a restaurant. But watching me do that it instantly feels like when the teacher would make you read in class, but you knew a big word was coming up. You had been trying to sound out this word while the teacher was talking about some other stuff, because you had already counted the paragraphs. The teacher making everybody go one paragraph, a paragraph, a paragraph, and you like, okay, I'm sitting here, which means I'm 8 paragraphs away. That's my word. Oh, no. And so then you trying to sound out the word in your head, but you can't sound out in your head. So you're like, maybe I'm not even sounding out right now because my head is quiet. And then they get to you and it's your turn to read, and you're like reading all good, killing it. You even sounding out the commas. You know what I mean? You see that comma and you go, pause. And then you finally hit that big word and you like, all right. Are you old enough now you don't want to sound like you sounded out, because everybody will think you can't read even though you read half the paragraph with no problem? You did mic drops on those periods. Anytime there was a period in a sentence, you were like, this good textbook right here. Yeah, what do y'all know about this English lesson, this Chaucer, okay? And then you finally get to the word and you're like, that's a cough. That was a cough. That wasn't even me reading just now. That's and the teacher goes, scrumptious. I was getting to it. I was getting to it. I was just trying to enjoy the word. I was trying to chew on the word. You the one getting all impatient and stuff. You trying to teach us patience. You're not even patient. That's me. Like, at least the closest I come to ruining everybody's life with math is when it's my turn to pay at dinner and I'm trying to factor out loud the tip, and I'm hearing me try to do math in my head, hearing a grown man say carry the is not gonna inspire confidence in my abilities, right? If I'm sitting there with the, okay, and then you got the two 2 right there. All right. Anytime I gotta do math without a calculator or a pencil, it's a whole conversation. I'm literally sitting there like, all right, so, I'm gonna do 25% because she was killing it, all right? So 25%, that's even better because it's also a quarter. Now I just gotta break this down into 4 parts and then put that line there, right? So now all I gotta do is get you to be still, be still, be still, be still. Stop it. I'm telling a 6 to stop it out loud at the table. Stop moving, all right? So now we gonna carry the 3, and if that 6 will be still, I think we at 9. No, that's up. That's not even division. That's more. Okay, all right. So I'm gonna put a 4 here, and that 4 gonna slide up and trip that 5. Gonna kick the legs up under that 5. And then that's a 1. Why couldn't this be an even number? Why couldn't somebody just order the guacamole like I said? That would have got us closer. Okay, so 7 and 3, that's 10 anyway. So that's 10. So now we know we're gonna have a 2 in there. I know y'all want to go. All right? Get in the car then. Get in the car. I'll follow. Yeah. And then I get embarrassed. And so I just write the total twice. And then I'm like, at least if I tip 100%, nobody could be mad at me. But then I'm sitting there like, can I really afford this? Because then I got to get in the car and do the math in my head of my account. I'm like, all right, so we eating on Sunday, all right? Tomorrow is a business day. It's not going to go through till tomorrow. So if I add a 20 to the account, ooh, I'm overdrafting hard. Oh, I don't know what the number is, but I know that fee gonna hit. We're in a bad way. One of the biggest problems that I think is facing Americans and the country is that we don't have a sort of cohesive identity of care for each other. So, for instance, something could happen to a large swath of Americans, and there'd be other Americans that are like, all right, good, I don't care, whatever. And I'm not saying any country is perfect. And I know that some of the countries I'm mentioning have at least a little bit of a homogeneity to them and everything. But whether you're Portuguese, you're Spanish, you're Italian, you're Brazilian, you're Mexican, when something happens and it happens to your countrymen, you see it as happening to your countrymen because they're all in a country together. They're all like in this thing together. I'm not saying there's not poor and rich and they don't have some of the same problems that we have. I'm not saying that factions haven't split people more than ever before, especially with the internet. I'm just saying that like they can look at a person they don't know and be like, that is my countryman, right? And we haven't had something like that for a long time. There are whole parts of the country that if you put them in a room together, we assume they would fight. We assume that it would come to blows almost immediately, just off of like, hey, do you want to pass the salt? Like, just like not even a political thing, just, it would just happen eventually, you know? And I thought that the connective tissue that we had as a country would put us together cohesively was at least like capital. I thought it was at least money. I thought that money would be at least the one thing that made us go, all right, we should all stop and figure this thing out right now. If it's not money, I don't know what it is. Like visiting another country and seeing it doesn't have to be this way is crazy. I'm surprised that's what we're not allowed to do. I'm surprised we're allowed to still travel. Because if you go anywhere else on like planet Earth, and I'm not talking about every place, I'm just saying, there are places that you look around and you'll be like, y'all don't just punch people in the face for being broke? Y'all don't just... Wow, all right, crazy. Going to another country that's like functioning and seeing how they operate is like going to going to a functional family's house for dinner. Like, it's just, you're just sitting there astonished. You're like, everybody here? Everybody sitting at the table together? All right. Got mom, got dad, got kids, and invited me over as a guest, and y'all just all smiling. As the dad, you're just sitting there. You're just sitting there asking your kids about their day. Their day at school. What are you doing, dude? What are you doing? You should be abandoning all of them right now. You should be abandoning all of them. You should be going to Vegas and putting it all on black, and then you win. You actually win. You doubled your net worth in a day, and then you put it all on red because you had a feeling, and then you lost it all, and then you're sitting in this casino's cafeteria where there's very nice food, but somehow it's still like a disgusting cafeteria, and you've got these crab legs and these lobster tails in front of you, but you're wondering what you're going to do after tonight because there's nowhere to go because you left home. That's what you should be doing. Not asking your kids, how was school? Like, and then the mom sitting here. Mom sitting here, help dad cook the meal. They cooked it together as a family unit. You know, they didn't just fall into general norms. You know, they figured out that he bakes good and she makes great chicken. So she made the chicken, he baked some bread and everything. And it's all on the table together. They're watching their children eat it for the nourishment of their bodies. Food that they bought through the work that they do. They both work jobs. You have to be a 2-income household now. It can't just be one person working. And so they worked really hard and they bought that food and they cooked that food to the best of their ability. And now it's going to feed their children and give them good nourishment for their bodies. And they don't resent those kids at all. And that's crazy. Like, why aren't you looking at these kids like they ruined everything? Why aren't you telling them what you did before they were born? Like as a dad, you should be telling them, I used to dunk. All right? I used to have a sick vertical. And then, you know, you came along and I was trying to put your car seat in the car and close the door too fast and slam my knee. I'll never jump again. But enjoy your baked goods. Like, that's the type of dad that you should be. Just over here smiling at them, watching them enjoy your bread. Oh, Dad, it's so good. And as the mom, you're over here working a job, cooking as well, and not resenting anyone here. You did a great job cooking rosemary chicken. It's delicious, succulent, not dry at all. How'd you manage that? How'd you manage not to dry it out? The rosemary's perfectly on there, and you shouldn't be here. You should be cheating. You should be cheating to give your kids something to fight against, okay? You want to make your kid a star athlete, you go out there right now and you cheat. You break up this family so that the only solace they can find is baseball, and then they just hit dinger after dinger every game because they're hitting their trauma. And then one day a scout from a good college, a college they couldn't possibly afford because it's not a 2-income household anymore. One of those colleges comes to scout this kid, and they're like, man, that kid's got talent. And we have to get him on this school's team, full ride. He goes from that full ride to AAA minor into the majors. And then one day they're interviewing him at the end of a game where he's hit the dinger that won them the World Series. And he's like, hey, I don't know where, I'm sorry, I'm getting so emotional. I don't know where my mom and dad are, but just know that I love you and I hope you're watching. And I did this for you, okay? I did this for you. I love you so much. You should be doing that instead of just helping them with their homework. And the kids are like sitting there well behaved, which is crazy. It's crazy. They're not hitting each other at all. They're not trying to put a fork in the other's temple at all. They're just sitting there enjoying like mom and dad's cooking and everything, laughing at each other's jokes. Hey, I have a joke. Everyone cares. Like, it's insane. You're sitting at a table as a family in America. This should not be happening, all right? You know, as the son, you should be sitting there yelling at your dad, give me back my skateboard or I'll kill you. Like, that's more our speed, you know? And that's what it feels like to just go to another country and watch them go to the hospital when they need to go to the hospital. Like, that's, you know what I mean? Just watch social safety nets happen and have just like a general care for citizens and stuff. That's what that feels like when it happens. One of the things that makes it so bad is that we have this attitude because of the strength of the dollar and because it is the base of like the world's currency. Everyone compares their currency to the dollar, the strength of their currency, the strength of the dollar, and people would like to be paid in dollars, at least for now. And there's an attitude that we have as Americans that it has to be that way. That we don't know any other way, so it must stay that way. So it really doesn't matter what we do, but it does. It does. All of that belief, all of that standard, with us as a standard, is confidence. And if your partners lose confidence in you, it's not going to be good for you. If your confidence is waning because of moves that have been made and unpredictability, then people will try to figure something else out. That's a little terrifying. You know, I'm not an economist. I don't know how all of it works. I just know that you can only really bully the whole world for so long. I was talking to one of my friends, and he said that he knew, the first time he knew his like neighborhood was broke was when the bank closed. It's a pretty good indicator. The bank holds that branch's money, and that branch is falling off. And said he went to the bank, and you know, he basically just straight up asked the teller, he's like, hey, do you know why this branch is closing? And she was like, are you here to make a deposit or a withdrawal? And he was like, withdrawal. And she was like, yeah, that's why. That's it in a nutshell. That's exactly what's happening. You do enough of that, and then there is no bank. We're just kind of a building with a little bit of parking. I don't know. I look back at the ups and downs I've had in my life. I've been like broke off and on my entire life, you know? And there's a weird solace sometimes in being broke at the right time. Everyone thinks that the security is in having means and having money, but sometimes not being a part of the circus is its own solace in a weird way. You know that it's bad when you're really shopping at the dollar store. There are things anybody could use at the dollar store. You need a fly swatter, you might as well run up in the dollar store. You know what I mean? You need like a dustpan, might as well run up in the dollar store. But if you're really shopping at the dollar store, things are not great. You know, I would go in the dollar store for stuff you shouldn't even be buying from the dollar store. They sell it, but even the cashier look at you like, you sure? I'm talking about well, you have to get your meat at the dollar store. I knew I was in a bad situation when I went to a dollar store and was looking at that meat in the fridge, and I was like, Because the meat at the dollar store, they don't go into specifics. You go to Kroger, Walmart, you go to Target, you go to any of these places, and you'll see the brand of the meat, and then you'll see, you know, all of the little no preservatives ever, completely organic, you know, all the stuff. When you go to the dollar store and you buy your meat, it just says the price and it says meat. And you're like, maybe if I don't ask any questions, it can be whatever I think it is.
Because then I also got a lot of stuff at the dollar store, even as a kid, that I look back and I'm like, that probably wasn't the best. Like a good example, if you know, you know. When you shop at the dollar store, especially if you ever got toys at the dollar store, you know that dollar store toys are in a very specific, slightly copyright infringed arena of toy. You know, like you would have a G.I. Joe, but it doesn't say G.I. Joe. It just says soldier. And you buy the soldier, and it even got the setup like a G.I. Joe, like it stands like a G.I. Joe, but the legs a little too short. So some very long arms. I couldn't tell if the arms were long or the legs were short. And it doesn't have like grip action. It says that on the front, grip action. It just has a hole. They didn't make a hand. They made a hole stub. And then this hole stub is what you go ahead and put the little toy gun through. But then they didn't really measure out the gun versus the hand. And so the gun is not in proportion at all. So it looked like this would blow his arm off if he tried to shoot it. But you bring it home and you're playing with it. And you're like, yeah, soldier, get him. And he's like, I'm gonna get him. Oh, I'm gonna get him. They getting it right now. Trust me. Nah, they getting it. Look. Point me over here. No, it was terrible. It was very bad. It was horrible. You know, you would have those dollar store crayons. That's another one. It's a very specific type of drawing as a kid, because those dollar store crayons, they melt in your hand. So you got to be quick with it. You got some imagination. It needs to come out now. You got to put those crayons in the fridge. I remember being around some of these crayon kids being like, your crayon's stale as hell. Man, y'all don't even freshen up your crayons. That's crazy. That's why your pictures stink. You know what I mean? My pictures smell like leftovers. I remember one of my favorite toys from the dollar store was like a Stretch Armstrong, right? But it was Stretch Arm. It would only stretch for like 3 days. You only got 3 good days. After that, it would get hard. And if you tried to stretch it after it got hard, it would cut your finger open. I don't know what it was made of, but it was the most malleable, unmalleable thing. It was Play-Doh and adamantium together. No, it was crazy. And that's the thing too, is when you're growing up in this situation, for anyone who knows what I'm talking about from experience, then you also know that it's very hard to know that you're broke, especially if you're a kid. It's hard to know if you are surrounded by love. My family loved me so much, so much. They still do. I make it sound like that's. Make it sound like there was a falling out. They still love me. But no, I was surrounded by love. I had my grandparents, and my mom, and my dad's love. I had my aunt and my uncle's love. I had my cousin's love. I had so much love around me. And when you're surrounded by that much love, you don't know that you don't have money when you have that much love until you meet somebody who has both. That is a curious experience. Like when you're like, oh, you got both parents and a pool? Okay, I think there can be upgrades to life. I see that now. To me, greed is a paradox, because you want everything. Even if you have more than enough, even if you have so much that what you have is starting to hurt you in the long run. You see it with the way that hedge funds cannibalize whole companies. It's like, okay, everybody made some short-term profit, but now this thing that people used to love doesn't exist. You know? Like you take like a Southwest. You know, Southwest, people used to love Southwest. Bags fly free. Affordable tickets. You just sit wherever. You don't have to wait for the person. Southwest used to be so fire because then you don't have to wait for the person to get to their seat and you don't have to get up for anybody. Do you know what it's like to just be in your seat on the plane? And everyone's almost here. There's a couple of stragglers. There's almost nobody coming down that aisle anymore. You even settle in. You're like, oh, I may not have a seat next to me. This may be the promised land. You get so comfortable, you're like, man, I might put my other leg over here. Southwest had a brilliant idea. And the bags were flying for free, which makes sense. The bags don't know where they're going. Why should I have to pay for this bag to have an experience too? And then greed, and then private equity, and then hedge funds, and then, shareholder meetings, and then dividends. All the things start to creep in, and it's like, maybe we'll stop doing everything that is why everyone likes us. Maybe we'll just be like the other airlines. They make money, but then you actually look at the people who fly Southwest, and they were like, oh, y'all aren't nice enough to be like them, though. Like, your seat doesn't even go back like that. Why would I pay for everything here that I pay for over there? That's crazy. And so then you see people plummet, because they're making decisions based on money, but not money that they need, just more money that they might be able to get. And there's only there's only so much that a business can grow. I understand a startup's passion, and that passion makes sense because the company just started. But after a while, it's like, do you really need to own everything? If the answer is yes, it's like, and they don't say it to us. They say it to each other. You ever get a hold of a recording of a closed door meeting and the way they talk about their own customers? That's why greed is like a paradox to me. You're so greedy that then you end up cannibalizing your own company, your own efforts, yourself. You end up hurting yourself. American greed is another paradox because as much as we know that the millionaires and billionaires maybe got their money in a way that's a little nasty, we also kind of want to be them a little bit. Everybody wants their piece, but we know how bad it is. There are people who I know who want to be billionaires. They aspire to be billionaires. But if you ask them to name like a good billionaire, it's a hard quiz. But they want to be the billionaire because they're like, no, I will be different. How? That to me is like a drug dealer saying, no, I'm gonna be different. Oh, how so? Oh, I'll only sell drugs to bad people. How will you know that they're bad people? Word will get around and they'll buy my drugs and I'll be like, that's a bad guy. No, it's not going to be different just because it's you. That's the trick as well. No, it's different when I do it. It's different when it's me. It's different when it's for me. It's different when it's for my family.
I don't know if you've been following this, maybe not. I just realized how white this room is. I mean, it's pop culture. You probably heard about it. I mean, I don't know if you've been watching this whole Drake and Kendrick. My. What a time to be alive. All right, so Drake and Kendrick, they are rappers, sir. They're rappers. Okay, just, I want to make sure everybody, and I'm not acting like I know. You might bump Kendrick all the time. You might be a big Pimp a Butterfly fan. You know, I'm just checking. So, Drake and Kendrick's relationship actually goes back way further than people realize, because Drake brought Kendrick with him on tour when Kendrick was like just starting to pop, but Drake was already a big deal, right? And it seemed like they were cool. You see these old interviews, they're in pictures together, they have such nice things to say about each other, and then along the line, something changed. Something happened. And we don't know what that thing is really, but they both started to kind of like go at each other in small ways. And some people take it all the way back to the Control verse. Kendrick did a verse in a song on, it was actually a Big Sean song. Big Sean is a rapper, sir. These are, I just want to, all of these are just names, and I want to make sure that we're all up to speed. So he did a verse on a Big Sean song called Control, but it blew up so much it became Kendrick's verse. It became the Control verse, which is crazy. And in that verse, he went at everybody. He called people out by name, you know? And he said, I got love for you all, but I'm trying to murder you. I'm trying to make sure that your fans don't even love you anymore. They love me so much. I'm coming for the crown. I'm coming for everything, right? And just about everybody thought that it was actually pretty dope. It was actually like, okay, hip hop as a sport, like hip hop as, you know, a fun thing, a contest to see who's actually the best, because everybody calls themselves the best on every song. Eventually, someone has to be the best. You know, every rapper believes that they're the best, and they say so in their music. A lot like how one city will have several First Baptist churches. When you look around, you're like, one of y'all has to actually be first, right? How can y'all even all claim to be first? This is confusing. You know? And so he releases the Control verse. Now, this is something, maybe this is where it started. It's where a lot of people say it started, but maybe it was something else. But Drake seemed to take some sort of issue with the love that Kendrick was getting for that verse, with him being called out, even though he's someone that helped, you know, Kendrick out in the beginning. But even in interviews, Kendrick explained himself. He said, like, this is a contest to see who's the best. It's all love, right? But Drake has, I'm trying to be fair. Drake has a lot of feelings, and you can tell because he has a lot of albums. And there are feelings on every one of those albums. And some people don't have several albums worth of feelings. Some people only have 4 or 5 albums worth of feelings, you know? And some people decide when to let it out, and he just lets it out on a pretty tight schedule, a pretty regimented schedule of release to let out all of his feelings, you know? And he said, he's like, I just didn't like it. It didn't feel sincere. I just didn't vibe with the whole thing. Because then I saw him later, and he was all nice to me. Yeah. He said in his interview, it was all love. It's just a contest. And then from there, they had like a weirdness. And then there's like little things. You can listen to certain songs where Drake seems to be like digging right at Kendrick, but in a way where you have to really look at it and wonder, right? Not saying his name. And then Kendrick even does a little bit of the same. But even after a little bit of this had kicked off, they still worked together 1 or 2 more times, right? Because Drake was on Good Kid, Mad City, Kendrick's album, and Kendrick was on Take Care. So there's still at least a professional relationship there to some degree, right? Fast forward a few years, and Drake's really big. And when I say really big, he's like what Bad Bunny is now, he was back then, like top top in the world, right? Everybody wanted to be Drake. Everybody wanted to sing a little bit of Drake. He was #1 on Spotify. Every time he released, it was a big deal. And so some people, admittedly, were very jealous of Drake. You know, there were people who started to go at Drake a little bit. And Drake is a good writer. He may have writers that he works with. He may have... But he's also good. It's like when he's making music, everyone in the room is good. That's... I'm trying to give him his I'm trying to be objective, and y'all are trying to lean me into a way that's... But he's good, and so, you know, Meek Mill is a rapper. Sorry, Meek Mill. Because that one wasn't a name. I just want to make sure that at no point you don't think that this is like punctuation or anything. Because the names are going to get weirder as I go, right? Okay. Meek Mill came at Drake, and Drake really, truly, even if you hate Drake, Drake destroyed Meek Mill. He destroyed Meek Mill so bad that Meek Mill had to go back to jail just to level out some of that street cred. Because if you remember, Meek Mill went back to jail for a while on like this weird aspect of probation that they even tried to get changed as a law. So then Meek Mill became this like face of changing incarceration and changing the criminal justice system, everything, because he had to do something else for a little while because Drake really ate him up. All right. And so more time passes, and there's still not much between Kendrick and Drake in this moment, right? And then Drake gets into it. And I want to be clear, because a lot of people sometimes feel bad for Drake in a way that I want to be clear. He does start a lot of this stuff. He does like have a little thing in a song that implies that your wife is unfaithful, and then when you come at him directly, he's like, what's with all the hate? I'm all love. It's like, no. The best way I can describe it is that Drake kind of fights like a cat. And some rappers fight like dogs. And so, you know, he'll do a little paw and he'll be like, what's the issue? And so Drake went at Pusha T, which was a true mistake. This is the thing about people like Pusha T, right? You don't want to mess with anyone who's actually had a hard life. You know, like, you know, Drake grew up in Canada, grew up with, like, it's just, this is my thing. A lot of people come at Drake for, you know, they come in at a way I don't like. They come at him in this like colorism way where he's like, you're not really black because you're half white. I don't roll with any of that. I just truly think, but you see what I'm talking about. I'm not, y'all are trying to get me to do something I'm not doing. I'm just saying it's very hard for a rapper to seem hard, right? When they have not been through what other rappers have been through. Like, it's hard to go hard when everybody knows you had health care. Because I'm not saying there aren't hardened criminals in Canada. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that if somebody knows that anytime you were sick, you could call a doctor. It just takes a little bit of the wind out of the sails of like, I'll kill you. It's like, yeah, but if I hurt you, you go to a doctor immediately. Like, so anyway, Kendrick is still off doing his thing, releasing amazing music, but Drake gets into it with Pusha T, which was a mistake because he told Pusha T, he's like, I got more money than you, I got more women than you, I'm more famous than you'll ever be. And then Pusha T said, you have a son. He released the fact that Drake had a son, which people didn't know, on a track that's cover was Drake in blackface. everything about what Pusha T did to Drake is why you don't get involved with people like Pusha T. You're like, you know, a part of me felt bad for Drake. Drake was probably like John at the mouth and everything and didn't know he'd do research. It's like, you know, Drake is sitting there like, guys, I thought we were rhyming. I thought we were making music. What is this? And so anyway, now Drake perceivably takes care of his son. And, you know, whatever. And so fast forward some more, and you would think that Drake could sort of learn his lesson of like, man, I shouldn't throw stones when I might have a lot of kids. And for his part, I will say this, for his part, every time somebody comes at Drake, he does come at them pretty hard, pretty heavy. And he does release music that his fans love, and there are a lot of his fans. I'm saying that's something that I thought about going into this thing, where I was like, he always does really try to like give you something, but what he gives is twofold. Drake is usually trying to give you that sort of earworm, trying to give you that thing that takes you to a place beyond the beef. So now people will still play back to back and songs that were responses to beefs he's had in the past, just as songs to enjoy, you know? And so this year, Drake and J. Cole started, you know, they started doing appearances together. Like J. Cole would pop up at Drake's concert. And J. Cole is also someone who I genuinely believe is one of the most talented, phenomenal, musically inclined artists that I've encountered. I really enjoy his music. I don't know him as a person, and I think he's amazing, right? So he is on a couple of Drake songs after they appeared together last year, and it made me listen to those songs. I was like, oh, J. Cole, okay, you know, because I admittedly I hadn't listened to Drake in a long time, because I only have a certain amount of feelings. I feel like I got pretty far. I feel like I listened to several albums, and then at a certain point I was like, I feel grown, like. You know? And anyway, they do a song together, and then they do a song called First Person Shooter. And in First Person Shooter, they're going back and forth about how great the era is and how great they are. And First Person Shooter is a fantastic song, right? And then J. Cole in the song says, I'm like, you'll forgive me if I'm getting it wrong, but he says, maybe something like we're the top who, you know, top 2, 3, okay. And then he was like, is it Kendrick, is it Aubrey, or me? Because we're the big 3, like we started the league. But right now I feel like Muhammad Ali, right? And I guess Kendrick heard that and took it as a personal affront. I wouldn't have felt that way. Like if 2 people were like, man, we're the best ever, and Josh is great too, and I wasn't even there, I would be like, oh, thanks. But I'm not built like Kendrick. You know? And so then later we would also find out that apparently Drake tried to get Kendrick on that track. So he knew it was coming up, and he didn't want any part of it. And then I guess he hated that he was.
It's funny how sometimes people like enter your life without you ever meeting them. Like you don't get to know them, but you hear stories about this person through the people that you know, or a friend of a friend, but then they just keep coming up, and you feel like they're in your life, even though you've never met them. You wouldn't know them on the street if you saw them, right? There was a guy like that for me named Marty. I never met Marty, wouldn't have been able to track him down if you gave me a 23andMe and a genealogy test or something like that. I knew Marty through stories, because Marty had an interesting life. This dude spent a bunch of time in France. He was American born, lived in France for a long time, learned French super fluently, and apparently he told one of his friends, this is how I heard the story, that he dreamed in French. Like he spoke English, obviously, and he lived in the States again, but his dreams would just be full of people speaking French at different points and stuff. And it came up because here in the US, he met someone and they fell in love, but she was French. So went all the way to France, didn't meet anybody. Came back here, met a French woman, right? And there was a day where Marty, he basically, in a nutshell, forgot his girlfriend's birthday. It was their first year together, so we're still like been dating some months, but hanging out all the time and everything. I said my birthday. You're supposed to remember. That's part of the relationship quiz. And it kept seeming like maybe there was a surprise waiting, or he was pretending to have forgotten or something. And then he went and took a nap. Yeah, not only did you forget my birthday, you napping in my face. And then I guess when she realized that he genuinely did forget, she woke him up, and she woke him up mad. And when she was mad, she'd go straight to French, right? Because she'd be so mad she wasn't putting it in English for him. And so he woke up to his girlfriend yelling at him in French. So he thought he was still dreaming. So wakes him up. Can't believe you forget my birthday. What's wrong with you? Are you out of your mind? You over here playing in my face all day? All in French. I'm paraphrasing. And then he was squinting, real tired, and was looking up at her and just wonders, I guess, to himself, am I having a dream right now? And so he casually, while she's yelling at him, puts his finger in her mouth. I don't know if you ever had somebody forget your birthday before, but you definitely have not had them put their finger in your mouth as you were letting them have it. And there was like felt like dozen funny stories like that about Marty. Marty was an interesting dude, and he just moved in different circles than me. Never met Marty or anything. But Marty got older, got married, had some kids and stuff, and then Marty got sick, and Marty had cancer. And there were some treatments that they could try, but it wasn't looking good, and his insurance wasn't gonna cover it, and he couldn't do it out of pocket, and Marty passed away. And it's crazy because one of the other things about Marty that people talked about was how he was like a good boss. It's sometimes hard to be a good boss because people don't like being bossed around. Like people don't enjoy someone telling them what to do, but somebody got to tell you what to do if we all work here. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can't just show up to work and be like, you figure out whatever you feel like. Nothing would get done. Like, there do need to be bosses sometimes in certain situations. It's just how you are a boss, Like, there are certain managers that I've had in my life that, honestly, I had the easy job, and they still made it hell, because they were hell to be around, There's nothing like having an easy job that is an easy job. I could do this in my sleep, but I gotta do it next to a jerk. That's the worst, those people got time to lean, got time to clean.
And this is another thing I have to accept about bosses, I have to accept about managers. There are some jobs where genuinely, it's in the handbook, it's like part of the job. The job makes you kind of come off like, or maybe turn into a bastard. Do you know what I mean? Because there are policy handbooks of companies where if you got time to lean, you got time to clean is in the book. They just quote them. So there are some jobs where you got to be a monster to do them. And there's some jobs that make you a monster, you know? I was thinking about that when the shooting in New York happened. I know. Because for me, in case you didn't know, in case you somehow have not been on Earth, there was a shooting in New York. Basically, this dude walked up behind CEO of UnitedHealthcare, and he shot him several times, and then he went off, right? But apparently he had been camped out there waiting. That dude walks past him. He goes, pop, 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 pop. And then he jumps on, apparently, a city bike, which is not advisable. And then he heads over to Central Park and disappeared into the night/day, because it was day. It was broad daylight, too. That's also what felt so insane about it. It happened during the day. You gotta understand, there's New York day things and New York night things. We usually keep the shootings after dark. And when it happened, it shook everything up. Everyone was obsessed. The news was obsessed. The news was obsessed when it happened. The news was like, finally, we have something to talk about that's not Trump. Oh, wow. What a day. So the news talked about it all day. The news talked about it nonstop. The news would even have people on to discuss it who clearly were just finding stuff out in the moment with us on the news. They would bring the expert on and then play the clip. And then the expert would watch the clip and be like, damn, it's like you were supposed to know, sir. That's why you're on the news. The news was absolutely obsessed, right? The news even did a thing that I've never seen before that I very much resented, because I'm just gonna be honest with you. This entire time, I'm just gonna be telling you how I feel. I'm not gonna tell you how to feel. I'm not gonna judge how anyone feels. I'm just talking about myself, right? When I saw it happen, when I saw that video footage that they played, when I saw that dude walk up and pull out a gun and point it at that CEO, I thought to myself, thank God those are white hands. When I saw those lily white hands, when I saw those pearly white hands, I thought to myself, what a white sight. What a beautiful white thing to happen that does not have anything to do with me, that should not blow back on me at all. What a white moment in America. And then in their obsession, continually, over and over again, describing what happened, going over what happened, the news did something. CBS this morning showed the clip. They showed this man walk up, pull out the gun, and they said on CBS in the morning, a light-skinned man. No.
No, light skin. When? When has the news ever said light skin? What's next, CBS? Redbone? Light skin. I was horrified. No, you know, if it had been a black person, they would say black, because they love saying black. Anytime a black person does something, the news is like, this black was last seen at the scene of the crime. You know this black, if you've seen this particular black, call this number so you can report him for his blackety-black crime. Guys, light skin. The news was obsessed with it, top to bottom. You could not watch anything else. I'm sure stuff was happening everywhere in the world, but you wouldn't know it. Just kept circling this one block in Manhattan, and people were obsessed with it. Us, were obsessed with it. It's all I heard people talking about. People who I know don't watch the news, people who I know don't really care about current events. Everybody was talking about it. Everybody was debating it on social, online. Everyone was talking about it. People were so obsessed that the backpack that the shooter was wearing sold out. Because in America, everything is an ad, including murder. People were so obsessed. You know, like those Timothée Chalamet lookalike contests they've been having in New York? A bunch of white people got together, because they knew he was white. A bunch of white people got together in the park and all dressed like the shooter and had a shooter lookalike contest. And it's been done in comedy before. I understand. It's a joke that's well worn. White people be like this. Black people be like this. But can I just say, as a black person, we have never, as black people, watched the news, seen the suspect, and then went outside specifically dressed as the suspect. We've never watched the morning, the 8 o'clock, the 10 o'clock, the midnight news and been like, oh, that's a good fit right there. Let me make sure I got it right. A red bandana. Okay, I need a red one. All right. That's just how you can tell being white is a different experience, because these white people racially profiled themselves for fun. That was... That's just having a time. So the news was obsessed, and people were obsessed, and CEOs were obsessed. CEOs were like, what? What happened? Oh my God. Oh my God, are you serious? And they didn't know each other? Kids, he just did that in broad daylight to one of us? CEOs started making moves, man. CEOs of all the healthcare companies started
taking down all of their profiles, all of their LinkedIns were just back to factory settings. And look, I need to be clear about something. I mean, you're gonna glean this off of me the entire time. I don't want anybody to die, right? I don't celebrate death in any way, right? But I will say, if you feel in the wake of this thing happening, like you have to scrub all mention of you, all knowledge of your existence off of the internet, then maybe, just maybe, take a look at how you do business, take a look at the person. Do you know what I mean? Because I've seen this thing before in a different way. Okay, so I had a buddy who, I went to his apartment for the first time, and this dude, I understand taking precautions, because that's what they will say they were doing. They were like, we don't know the motive. We don't know why this person would do this thing. We don't know who they are. We don't know if they're going to come for one of us. So we try to protect ourselves, you know, just take everything on. And that's what this guy was doing. I went to his house for the first time, went to his place, and he had 6 locks on his door. At 6 locks, something needs to change. At 6 locks, you either need to move or change your ways, all right? Because this dude had 6 locks. He was dealing a little bit of drugs and stuff, but I was like, 6 is, come on. What are you doing? It takes you a minute and a half to open the door. I can hear it. You hear chains, you hear all stuff. You know? I was like, isn't this worse for you? You really worried somebody coming to get you? You got 6 locks. You sure you won't get killed trying to get in? But that happened, and the news was having trouble thinking of a motive. The news, they were like, why? Why would anyone? Why? Who could it be? You know? Police were having trouble coming up with a motive when they went on the news. They were like, we have no idea why this individual would do something like this. CEOs could not think of a motive. They were like, but we're us. I thought everybody loved us. Everybody wants to be us. Why would somebody come after us, right? You see it on the news. And this is also, I'm not gonna lie, this is how you can tell the news is owned by billionaires. Because the news was like this devastating, terrifying, harrowing attack in New York. And I'm not saying, look, a murder did take place. I'm not saying that it couldn't have been listed as those things. I'm just saying you're the news. Like, you are the mainstream media. You play horrific stuff all the time. You're the same news that when those pages were going off on those people in the Middle East exploding, you were like, check this out. Isn't that wild? The moment 1,000 pages went off and killed a bunch of people. You know what I mean? That same news is like, we still don't know who or why or what or how. No, police couldn't think of a motive. CEOs couldn't think of a motive. CEOs of other healthcare companies couldn't seem to think of a motive. This thing happened the same week as one of the main insurance providers was saying out loud with their full chest, we gonna stop doing anesthesia if you take too long. You better. Which, by the way, is not up to the patient. That's also one of the most insane things about that new policy they were going to try out. I've never had to administer anesthesia to myself. That's just heroin. Yeah, if your surgery takes too long, it's not like they're there, by the way. It's not like they have to wait on you in the waiting room or something. If your surgery takes too long, we're gonna charge extra to put you back under. If your surgery takes too long, we might not cover more anesthesia. What? In what world did we think you could pay for health insurance and then you wake up during, who knows, whatever serious surgery you're having, and then your doctor has to be like, hey, do you have like 650? Because if not, I know you're a little groggy, but can you understand me right now? I know you're literally open, but can you understand what I'm saying? If you don't have it, that's okay. I got a stick. We can Civil War this right now. The stick is $20 though, so it's... Couldn't think of a motive, you know? And the CEOs as well, when you look at this guy, you look at this dude, I don't think anyone was ready. I don't think the news was ready. I don't think the police were ready. I don't think the rich were ready for how, like, on the shooter's side the public was. Do you know what I mean? Like, how absolutely, unequivocally on his side. Immediate. I didn't know it had happened and there were already jokes. Do you know what I mean? Immediately. You know? The people, I'm not going to say as a whole, because I'm not going to speak for everybody, but for the most part, were on the shooter's side. They don't know the motive. They don't know why he did this thing, but they were glad that it happened. And so out of it, you get these CEOs, you get these rich people going on the news and really campaigning, being like, look, the CEO, this man was a father, this man was a husband, this man, and they really appealed to the humanity of this CEO. And there were people who heard that appeal, and they said, yeah, no, I know he was a person, so was my cousin. So was my brother, so was my sister, so was my friend. You know what I mean? This man had children. He leaves children behind. This is a senseless death. It did not have to happen. And it's like, yeah, no, I know about I know about avoidable deaths. You know? I'm a customer. I know people who have died these avoidable deaths because it took too long to get their medicine, took too long to get the treatment. Maybe it wasn't covered. Maybe they're on the phone forever. This man was a father. He was a husband. Okay, so was Marty. You know what I mean? And I think the thing that people are wrestling with, the thing that we're all trying to contend with in how we feel about this thing, because people want to feel like good people. We know that murder is wrong. We know that death is a tragedy, right? Because to me, personally, when I look at any death, when I look at any killing in that way, I personally look at it as a loss and a tragedy, because as long as someone is alive, there's potential. There's potential to turn things around. There's potential to change. And then if you lose that potential, then your story gets cut short and maybe things would have turned around. I'm not saying that they would have, but the thing that we're all wrestling with is that a murder did happen. Someone killed someone in cold blood. They just didn't kill an innocent man. Do you know what I mean? That's also what feels so conflicting about it. Like, a killer killed a killer. This dude was the CEO. A lot of people died under his watch, through his policy, through what UnitedHealth does. You know? There are a lot of people that are gone, and when you can see an act happen in real time, it's very easy to look at it, be shocked by it, and call it murder. When you can spread all of the culpability, when you can spread all of the actions across thousands of individuals and a whole system, now somehow it's nobody's fault. You know?
And like you look at someone like Brian Thompson, that CEO, that dude was to himself probably, I'm assuming, just good at his job. It's his job to make the company money. I don't know what CEO, outside of maybe like a gun manufacturer, wakes up and wants people to die. Like, I don't know. I don't know what CEO wakes up. These CEOs, they work 80-hour weeks and they don't see their families and everything, but they do it because of their obsession to succeed and to build up the company, to make the company successful, to give back to the shareholders, all the reasons they come up with. And if some people die along the way, then that sort of is what it is, right? But this dude, make no mistake, he was a killer. He was such a good killer that the company was like, damn, Brian. Damn, you cold-blooded. We need to make you CEO. Wow, you don't care. You don't care at all. Women, kids, you get them all. Wow, Brian. He got promoted the way a gang member becomes a leader, you know? You're the coldest one out here. You know, it's tough. It's really tough. It's hard. It's also hard because when you talk about it or whenever you're feeling what you're feeling, you don't want to. We're all human, but you don't want to lose your humanity. You know, like you don't want to get so spiteful that you lose some of yourself. You know, and so this dude, they're looking for him, and it's hard because the people are on his side. There's literally people dressing up as him, right? And I'm not gonna lie, I feel like some of the cops were even on his side because the cops were on a manhunt for him in Central Park and they weren't looking hard. Dude, they weren't. Like, did you, if you saw the news and you saw them in Central Park, I've never seen a more lackadaisical hunt in my life. There were cops in Central Park. This is being shot. They see the camera and they know what's going on the news, and they were still like, he ain't in this bush. Where else is there to look? No. It's hard, you know. And it's also difficult because you want to have empathy for everybody if possible. You want to see every angle if possible. But this one is tough in a way because of what Brian was. Just a representative, by the way. That dude just is one of the dudes. Nothing changed. He's one of the dudes. And he can be one of the dudes because the system's already there. So it's not as if doing anything to him does anything to the whole, right? I mean, I will say, I do think they rolled back that anesthesia thing. That did happen. Maybe they'll go through with it later, but for the time being, it seemed like they were like, ooh, okay. You know? But he's allowed to be where he is, how he is, because of the system at play. A system, by the way, who didn't care about Brian either. Let's be honest about that. You know, because that man was headed to a meeting when he was murdered, and investors still had the meeting. That's how it works. They were getting notifications on their phone that Brian was outside, and they were like, ugh, so the minutes. How's next quarter looking? I mean, that's why it's not worth it. You know, when you put like that much profit over the person, you are also lost in that thing, right? And I think that's a harrowing thing. I think for CEOs, that was like a terrifying moment because it was the first time that they saw that we see them the way they see us. Do you know what I mean? That's gotta be scary. Because for them, make no mistake, for them, we're not clients, we're not consumers, we're not customers, we're not even users. None of the names that they put in their reports, none of the things that they say to their shareholders, we're numbers. We're an account number, we're this thing. Which is why when we go away, when we disappear, when we die, it doesn't really mean anything to them. Because they never really saw us. And then the response to this shooter, this like overwhelming positive response on social, I'm not saying it was everybody, but a lot of people, it was kind of this wake-up call that we don't see them as people either. Which is, that's scary. That's a scary place to be in, you know? Because when you would see it on the news and the news described it, let's not mince words. It was a murder. The man was murdered. You know what I mean? And the news would describe it as if it was the singular event in history. This horrific crime that took place in the streets of New York in broad daylight, this harrowing attack. And I'm not saying that it wasn't. I'm just saying that the woman in the video with her coffee that got out of the way didn't spill. It was one of the most New York things I've ever seen. For someone to get shot and then a bystander be like, he ain't shooting at me.